Good evening. Welcome to the March 24th regular meeting of the Board of Finance. I'm Kevin Woolley, Vice Chairman. I'd like to start the meeting by calling us to order. It is 7:35 and have the members introduce themselves, starting on my right.
Kevin Moffett.
John Cifarelli.
Ralph Escatino.
Jim Leahy.
Pam?
I'm sorry. You said board member.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Finance Director Pam Mangini.
Okay. Our first item on the agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board? Linda, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Come on up.
Okay. My name is Linda Cohen. I'm the treasurer of the Amity Teen Center, and I have packets to give out to everybody. I guess, Pam, you already have one? So how many do I need?
Five.
You have it in order. Great.
Actually, I do. I think that's it.
Thank you. So, 2. Save this one for Kevin.
Thank you.
She has one. And if Kevin comes.
Okay, the Amity Teen Center is in a unique position. The students of the Amity Regional High School from Bethany, Orange, and Woodbridge are in a regional school system. In most towns, it's a single-town school system, and the teens are right under the budget along with everything else. When the Teen Center was founded in 1987 as a result of a number of area tragedies and events unfortunate events at parties, the three then first selectmen of the three towns, Dot Berger from Orange and Russ Stoddard from Woodbridge and John Ford from Bethany, were trying to figure out what to do and how to run a proper program for teens. In the past, before that, single towns had tried to run programs for teens, and they were unsuccessful because the problem is the teens like to go where their friends are, and it needed to be a tri-town organization. So then the thought was to have one of the towns run the teen center and have the other two towns contribute. And that didn't go over well because none of the towns wanted to be just contributing. They wanted to have a say in what was going on. And then the thought was to put it under the high school budget, but then the high school said, well, we want to focus on education, and these programs are really outside education, and if we have it in our budget and we have a budget crunch, well, that program's going to go. And so they decided to create, on a trial basis, they gave us the old fire station on the Post Road in Orange, or old police station, I guess it was, and now it's the new firehouse. So we were in there while kind of on a test basis with everybody saying, well, these things go in phases, it'll probably last 5 years and fizzle out. By the time it was time to build the firehouse, it was 1996, it was 9 years later, and the teen center was doing very well. And they said, well, there'll be no problem, we'll find you a place, and we'll get you, budget, and things are going to be, we'll be fine. And nobody really had a place for us because the kids really need a place of their own. They were used to a place of their own, and there was no place to go, and they would all kinds of studies. So Orange actually formed an Orange Advisory Council to determine whether the teen center should even go on, whether this was a viable option, whether this was something they needed. And that commission from Orange, with members from both political parties and members from Human Services and members of the students, decided that not only should it go on, but it really needed to be a tri-town organization. It really needed to continue as it was, but then we needed to have total support from all three towns. So they formed then the Tri-Town Collaborative Commission formed by members from the boards of selectmen from both parties, from all three towns, along with members from Human Services, from I guess Bethany didn't have a Human Services, from Orange and Woodbridge, and members at large, and all different kinds of appointees of people that they felt were experts in the field, all appointed by the three first selectmen of the towns. And they did a 2-year study to determine the need for a teen center, to evaluate other teen centers, to see what other communities were doing, to see what the needs were, to do all kinds of studies, and to do a needs assessment. And their conclusion at the end of 2 years was that we needed a teen center, the kids needed a place of their own, it needed to be in a central location, and it needed to be formed, to get a location as soon as possible. And that's when the formula for funding came up, and they created this formula based on the population of 15 from Orange, 10 from Woodbridge, and 5 from Bethany. And they said that this was really more like a start, because we were still nomads. We were having events in Orange Town Hall and Bethany Town Hall, in Woodbridge Senior Center, but a big problem came up whenever we would have events booked or planned. If a single town entity came forward and wanted the space, we got bumped, and the kids were really feeling like they weren't very important. And these kids are our future, and finally everyone was very frustrated, the staff was frustrated, and we were going before the P&Z board in Woodbridge. We tried to get space on the school grounds. We thought, we'll raise money and we'll build a building on the school grounds, and all three first selectmen said that's the ideal thing, and they all went with us to the Amity Board of Ed, and we were turned down several times, and they finally said it's not going to work. And we decided to try to do something near the high school on public-owned property, on Woodbridge-owned property, and the neighbors were all like, not in my backyard. And we had several wonderful plans of buildings. We were going to try to co-op with giving town use, and nothing was approved until finally we found this building on Selden Street in Woodbridge, and we decided that we'd been spending 10 years raising money. We had enough for a down payment, and the building's a fantastic building. I'd love you all to come if anybody wants to see it. And so we found this building, and we are able to afford it because it was pretty run down. It was a run-down building. There were lots of issues. The owner was bankrupt. And what this did was it gave us an opportunity not just to buy a building, but to have community input and community, almost like an old-fashioned barn raising, because everybody could participate in actually doing things for the building. And we had the kids involved. Corey Ziman was one of our most active members. He was there doing demolition. He was there doing everything. So we did a lot of projects to get the building emptied. A lot of people from the community came forward. Joe Lavanio from Orange came and did our concrete work. I mean, people were just coming forward and donating things. We have a state-of-the-art surveillance system, which was donated, state-of-the-art smoke fire system, which was donated. Everybody was coming forward and trying to put this together. We still needed some professional work and renovation, and we still have a mortgage we're doing numerous fundraisers to try to pay off the building. But one of the concerns of the towns when we started on getting a separate building was that we were going to be, and we don't want to have programs just once a week like we had been. We wanted to have programs, if we can, 5 days a week. Right now, that's not, that's our goal, but right now we're hoping for 2 to 3 days a week as we try to put pieces together with our fundraising. But they said, well, we don't want you to be asking for more money from the taxpayers. We really want you to go forward and try to promote this among the community and not ask for more money. And we've had a flatline budget since that very first allotment by that Tri-Town Collaborative Commission. And it's been a struggle. I'm not going to say it's not been a struggle, because it has. We've finally, operating the building is, as you know, with the utilities and everything going very high, is very difficult. And we've have a tenant in some unused space, that the way the building's configured, there's a space that we really can't use, and we've got a tenant to help us offset the operating costs. We're doing fundraising for building costs. What we really need and what's important, I think, as you've seen in the papers, is the how critical the supervision is. And we do have good supervision, and all the several incidents we had were handled very well, but we need the police feel we should have more police protection, so actually that line item in the budget that I had for the police is probably going to have to go up. But basically, the planning, working with the kids, we don't just do, I mean, with younger kids, you can give them a party and they come and they have a good time. That doesn't work with this age group. They need to participate, they need to create the event, they need to develop the programs themselves and learn how to implement. And we're trying to teach them life skills and teach them something meaningful. We have the support of the superintendent of schools in the packet. There's a letter to Mr. Zioli from Dr. Brady in support. Also in your packet is a copy of the annual appeal that we send out, basically to show you a little bit more about what we're about and to show you who's on our boards and committees, who's on our advisory councils. The clergy are basically, they're an honorary committee, and they just wanted to show the community that they all support the teen center. They all feel that this is very important. And it's very difficult for the kids being part of the, they almost feel like they're being penalized for being part of a tri-town organization, because they're not as important as something that's coming directly under one of the towns. And that's really not fair to them. I mean, these kids are our future. Teenage years are difficult years. As a matter of fact, in our program expansion, we've had requests from parents of kids with special needs, because those kids are having to deal with being a teenager and being a teenager with special needs. And that was one of the programs we were hoping that we were going to be able to scrape the money together to offer this year, working with one of the high school teachers who handles special needs kids and try to work on expanded best buddies to have regular kids work with special needs. This needs a lot of supervision, and that's what we're asking for our budget money for, is basically the supervision to have more programs, because kids don't have needs just 1 or 2 nights a week or once a month for a big party. Kids have needs, and you need to be there when they need you. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
So now, how many events you have once a year? How many events you?
We have as many events as our budget allows. We are open at least once a week. We've been trying the past year to be open twice a week. We were hoping maybe next year to expand that to 3 times a week. So as I said, we kind of run until our money runs out, and then we try to raise more money and have more events.
What's the hours? How many hours during an event?
An event, the events are usually, we try to be open every Friday from 7 to 10:30 to have a regularity to it. We're trying to be open, there's been a need for Saturday nights as well, so we're doing Saturday nights. We would like to be open after school. I think the special needs program, if that takes off, will probably be after school, maybe Saturday afternoons. Super Bowl Sunday, we were open Super Bowl Sunday because the kids wanted a place to be. So
How many kids do you usually have in an event?
It depends what it is. So if we're having a bands night, we'll, get it, depending on the kids who's playing in the band and everything and what else is happening, you could get 30 up to, we had 200 a couple of weeks ago, a couple of nights. So it really varies. Games nights, I mean, not everything is an event. I mean, that takes a lot of planning and a lot of time. So it's not just the time for the staff being there, it's the time getting ready for it. But we are trying to do some drop-in things, especially the teenage boys like the games. So we're trying to be open for them to drop in and play games, and that's been very popular, and we're trying to grow that event as well. When I say games, I mean there's video games, we have pool table, ping pong, foosball, air hockey, and the board games, the old board games, Monopoly, Clue, or chess, checkers are also very popular. And we're doing some grant writing now to raise money because the kids have said that they'd like to have an outdoor game area where they could shoot basketball and they could maybe play some badminton or some other kinds of games outside. So we're working on developing that, and then that would be nice for an after-school activity. But we really need as much community support and help in trying to develop some of these programs and expand our facility. Our facility is still a work in progress. We got to the point finally where we were able to get a CO, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and we welcome anybody who wants to put in, help us physically as well as monetarily. But it's tough. I was listening to Dr. Brady give a presentation, and there's a big need for a lot of the kids are going home after school, and there's no one at home, and there's all kinds of studies about kids that are left home alone for more than 5 hours are more likely to indulge in alcohol. There's a lot of stuff on the news. We're also trying to do some health-related issues. For instance, next September 27th on Saturday, we're planning a full-day workshop for kids, for people who work with kids on pre-diabetes issues, because it turns out that type 1 diabetes used to be the prevalent diabetes among teens, and that has changed. It is now type 2, and that is preventable, and those are lifestyle issues. So, and there's symptoms of it that manifest themselves in a child's behavior, in their teens' schoolwork, and we're trying to develop an awareness. We're trying to, as you see in our mission, develop the whole teen. And what's nice that we see now is that because we've been around so long, we'll go someplace and see a young adult, and they'll discover we're related to the teen center. Like I was at the bank making a deposit, it was a new teller. Just the teen center. I went there in Orange, when it was a building in Orange, and that meant so much to me. That was such an important part of my life. When I was down, I had a place to go, and that meant so much to me. And when she said that meant so much to me. My kids are grown now, they're married, and it's the kids that kind of melt my heart, the reason I've stayed involved.
Linda, you've been involved since '87?
Actually, I was involved since, I think, 88 or 89. They were just getting going. I mean, developing it, they were having trouble. I'm a CPA, by the way. They were having trouble getting their 501c3 status. They were having trouble with the application, so they needed some help with that, and so I helped them with that, and they got the status, and then they wanted some help with the payroll taxes. So I said, okay, I'll just help out with the payroll taxes, and
here you are.
Here I am today. And as far as our structure goes, the board, the adult board, supervisory overseeing board, which is one of the requirements of this way it was set up, is that they're residents of all 3 towns, but we're all volunteer. All the administration, all the grant writing, all of the administrative work is all volunteer. The paid professional staff are trained to work with youth, and they are the ones that work directly with the teens. So we have a professional staff, and that's where the money's going, basically, to pay the staff to work with teens, because you want to have trained people who are trained to work with them. And then we have a student board, and that student board helps plan the activities. And the activities and what we do change depending on the student group that's in the high school at the time, and we're very flexible, because you can't sit around and plan something for 2 years or the kids are gone, and you have a whole new group of kids.
Can I ask you a couple questions? I have really
Sure.
2 categories. I'm glad to hear you're a CPA. That means I know the answer. I looked on your yellow sheet, which it looks like that's your annual appeal.
Yes.
And it says you owe $155,000 to complete the project. Is that like a note you still owe on this building?
We
maybe, or
owe,
something?
actually, our note, this is before the appeal. We are now after the appeal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the note we owe is down to 98,000 now.
Oh, okay.
We have, we still have some items on the project, though, the basketball game court. I think we need some roof work. And then there, when we bought the building, there were a few little issues that we had, that we have kind of a potential liability for.
Okay.
So
the $6,000 interest expense, that's on that $98,000 note that you
that
owe?
was on the note at that time, but I just got a letter from the bank saying that the interest rate dropped a little bit. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get the note down, get the interest rate down, and take that and open another day a week. I mean, that's our goal. Every time we see money, we can open more for the kids.
What I wish I had was, and it kind of follows up on Ralph's question, I'm trying to get, I've never been there, okay?
Give me a
So-
call, you can come in anytime.
I may well do that. I'm a student, I walk in. Do I sign in?
Yes,
Okay, so you have a record of how many students?
right. I thought I had given, didn't I send statistics? I did? Oh.
See, that would be very helpful, and it's
The
everyone that
trouble is,
comes
my
in.
statistics are old, I mean, our year end is June 30th, was '07.
Yeah.
And that was, we opened in '06, actually, it was supposed to be September of '06, our our fire detector system was having some bugs, so we didn't even open till October. We didn't know when we could advertise, and we were kind of feeling our way. So those statistics were running, I mean, we had, and most of them, we had a lot of workshop events. So the kids were coming, they painted the mural behind the stage. They came in, they built, we have a modular platform stage, which is great. We did a fashion show, and you could extend it out. The kids built that. And they came and they cleaned the front yard, and they came and they cleaned the backyard.
What I'm
So we
feeling
did-
around-
but so though we had that first year was a lot of workshop events, but I'm going to try to get you some better statistics maybe going out
Perhaps I could
towards the
guide you.
current. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to have the number of students that visited by day? Macro number. And then I'd like to get a feel for the segmentation of students. In other words, are they junior high? Are they high
Oh, no,
school?
they're high
Are
school.
they post-high school?
Yeah, but they're basically high school, I mean, they're high school for the main events. For instance, we're having a Relay for Life benefit, April 4th, and that is co-hosted with Southern Connecticut University, and we're trying to kind of give the kids a little bit of camaraderie with the college students and together work on a benefit. So in that case, we're going to have, as you said, a slightly different population.
I can understand that about event traffic. I'm looking for what drives the day-to-day. So
Well,
we're-
right now, I mean, we don't have, I would like it to be day-to-day. It's really like week to week.
It's more event-driven now.
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the goal is to be a day-to-day.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
Okay, all good. So if we're talking about the numbers of people that go there, right? I mean, it comes down to usage.
Right.
And then I would like to know, are they junior high and high school? Are they junior high, high school, post-high school? Where are they from? For example, are they 90% from Orange? Are they 90% from Bethany? What's the distribution among the three towns? Are there people from outside the three towns? How does that vary when you have an event? I mean, these are just, obvious as a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
These are obvious questions that I'm sure you would like to see where someone coming in and talking to you sitting on this side, and I just think it would be useful.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, that is one of our most, kind of our difficult assignments. For instance, we did this, the Jamie Hulley Foundation from Orange donated a professional art hanging system because we want to develop art shows and have the kids show the art. So that was a total joint sponsored program with the high school and us, and we had the students submitting their artwork, and they were all from the high school, and the teacher gave me the grades, and I said, what about the towns? And he's like, why do you need the towns? I said, I need the towns. He said, I don't know the towns. So sometimes, they just assume when it's a high school thing that we don't need the towns. So there's a lot of things that we need to work on it. Corey was saying that there's some sophisticated computer systems where we could give people cards and we could have the computer tabulated, because it's really hard, especially when you have a large crowd and you're trying to make sure it's supervised properly. But, and again, it's a computer, he said it's an expensive computer system, and he's like, do you have the money? And I said, no, but I wish we had the money. Maybe somebody would donate the money and we could get this system so that we could just have people swipe their cards and we would know all our numbers, because the trouble is with the sign-ins, you can't read some of it, and then there's a confidentiality issue because they're minors. So we're working on it. So I'll get you what we have, but that's another thing that we need to work on.
If you're just a non-event, you're just open as a drop-in center on a Friday night, what's the average amount of people that would be in there?
15 to 25. And they vary. Those, for some reason, we have some orange kids that are really into that, some orange boys. The other thing people were saying is, Amity Teen Center is going to be babyish. You're not going to get the older kids, but we are. So that's one exciting thing, that we are getting the older kids. Of course, now they're saying, well, now do you have town zoning is like, do you have enough parking spaces now that you're having kids that drive? Fortunately, they come 5 to a car, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you. We're not, obviously, we're not done with our.
Oh, no, but I wanted to give you some
for coming.
information, and I
Absolutely.
wanted you to be able to know that you can ask me something.
And if you could answer Jim's questions if you have time in the next few days, send something to Pam or to Jim directly, that would be great. We'll be meeting all night tonight. We'll be meeting Wednesday and next Monday also, so
Okay.
that'll be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Is there anyone else for public participation? No? Okay, we will move on to discussion and approval of the minutes from our February 29th meeting.
5-pager.
That was our all-day meeting.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Any additions or corrections? I naturally look at John.
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
It's on page 3. I guess I'm going to ask the team here to, I don't think this is, it's a second bullet from the bottom under Chief Gagney's section. And it's the second last sentence. It starts with my name, Mr. Leahy pointed out. I think I was asking whether or not retail development versus commercial development is more taxing to the police department, and asked for Chief Gagney's assessment.
Correct.
I don't think I pointed it out. It was my hunch. It was my hypothesis. But what I wanted to know was, in his position, Chief Gagney, which you then go on, Deborah, to say Chief Gagney agreed with this assessment. But I don't think I mean, you could say Mr. Leahy hypothesized that retail development versus is more taxing. I think that would be more accurate to what I said.
So did we change point out with hypothesize?
Hypothesize. Don't ask me to spell HY. I give you that
That's
part.
okay.
After that, you're on your own.
Just need
All
the
right.
word.
HYPOTHESIZED. I think.
Next, I recall you posed the question, and his answer was the retail.
Yeah. And for the team's benefit, up on the top of that page, since they're on there, Tim Smith has been sending me some of his files that he showed us copies of last time, and I've just been doing what I would do with any team lead, just kind of massaging it and asking the types of questions I think we all would ask, so. And the same thing I did with, for your information, with Dan Lynch and one of his assistants. Again, so FYI, it doesn't affect the notes. No. That's all I had, Kevin.
That case, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
There you go.
Sorry. Make the motion to approve the minutes for February 29th with the corrections that Jim made.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
All good?
Aye. Motion approved. Thank you.
All right, so this is Amity.
Move on to item 4, discussion and possible approval of transfers. Okay, bam.
Bam. You're up.
Okay, I know that you were provided with one transfer request in your packets, and I had noted in my memo to you that there would be another, but I happen to have 2 others. So we'll take them one at a time. The first one that was in your packet was from the Public Works Department, and Mr. Lieberman did provide you with an explanation regarding the additional costs requiring additional monies into the brush disposal account. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, I just read the explanation, but it gave me a thought.
Yes.
We could not get any landscaper to take any chips this year, okay? That might be hyperbole, but that wasn't my reason for pointing it out. I just wish I knew that if we, are there people like me who don't know there are chips available? And if I knew, I'd probably run down, at least I'd have the opportunity to run down there with a box or a, John, is that
Once you
crazy?
saw them, you probably won't want them.
We won't tell them that.
They don't look like the chips you'd go to
Oh, does
Home
it?
Depot
Oh,
or
okay.
wherever to buy.
Just an idea,
Yeah,
Thank
it's the
you,
kind of
John.
stuff you just try to cover brushes, so some people take a truckload and they just
The answer
cover
is,
it.
well, if it was good enough for landscapers in some years, I thought that, it was just a thought, guys.
When you go to the dump and you look on the sides there,
Yeah.
they're using it to try and keep the weeds from growing up there. Or if you go to Fred Wolf Park, I think there's a pile in the parking lot as a berm or something.
But to answer your question, yes, some people do go there and take them. Now, how they're made aware of that, I'm not sure. But there are people that I'll see there with their trailers on a Saturday morning that will be throwing in, a truckload or a little trailer load and, use it, for rough landscaping as opposed to some, the red stuff you buy or the black or the other stuff. But, yeah, but again, I think your question was how do people know about it, and that I don't know.
Well, how to know about it so that next year, if the same thing occurs, that we're not spending $7,900 on $1.50 on anything.
Yeah.
That if we put a sign up and people could say,
Help
oh,
yourself.
God, John, thanks for telling me about that. Okay?
I want to know
You're questioning that. I got it.
well, why did we put out the fire? Cost us $8,000.
Yeah.
Safety.
But as far, I don't, it's all good. All good.
He has money in the solid waste disposal?
Yes, he did. I did ask him to work within his budget, and he did manage to find the money, and there is some additional monies this year in the solid waste disposal account.
In that case, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $7,900 for the brush disposal.
You got it.
I'm sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $7,900 for the brush disposal, as requested by Mr. Lieberman.
I have a motion, second.
Just one, how is he going to dispose of these?
Somebody got something.
Somebody's going to,
Wood chips?
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, that's a good question.
The grinders, the company that does the grinding also takes them away.
we'll haul them away?
It's part of the, they grind them right into a trailer.
Okay.
We talked about this before vacation, so my memory is a
It's
little bit lax.
already done, actually.
Did we have a motion and a second? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one I'm going to pass around.
We'll get more.
This is the one that I did mention in your packet, and it's from the school nursing program, Amy Wargo, contacted me last week requesting a transfer from their overtime account into conference and training. And any transfer, obviously, that comes from a salary line item needs to be approved by this board. Amy explains that they have a number of new nurses to the school system, and they would very much like to take advantage of some additional training and some conferences. As a result, they have filled positions, so they haven't been utilizing overtime as much this year. They do have funds available in that account. And secondly, she did note that the cost of conferences have increased over the past year. So those are the reasons she's requesting the $200 transfer.
So it's, the account title is conferences that,
Yes,
Okay.
I apologize, that wasn't put in there, but the
Okay.
account 2 title is conferences and training.
What's the total budget for that account?
That is for the entire program, Jim?
Overtime.
Oh,
The
for
overtime account
overtime,
that we're
it was
moving.
minimal. It was $800, and they haven't used any of it year-to-date.
Okay. And so we're using up the entire overtime budget.
No,
Only 200.
only 200 of it.
A quarter.
Oh, I got 4 copies.
It's the same copy.
4 times 200, forget it.
You just happen to have 4 copies.
I thought there was 4 of them.
That's good.
Oh, Jimmy.
Just one.
The
So-
4 copies they gave us, the more
Hey,
to
what can
get.
I tell you?
I'll put this mic on. I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $200 for the overtime and conference cost.
motion, do I have a second?
Sure.
Second
Go
by
ahead.
Kevin.
Kevin's all good.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one is also from Public Works. This came about this morning, actually. On Mondays, I usually try to find a few minutes to review our year-to-date expenditure report, and one of the items I discovered was a slight deficit in the community center overtime account. Currently, it's about $95, and I did discuss this with Mr. Lieberman, who explained that there have been more after-hour and weekend events at the High Plains Community Center. He also explained that as a result of some illnesses with our custodial staff, he has been forced to utilize a particular custodian/maintenance person that is actually receives a higher salary rate. Subsequently, it costs us a little bit more money. And for those reasons, he anticipates needing some additional money for the remainder of the fiscal year. And I guess we can look at this from a good viewpoint, but he did realize that the longevity line item that he's taking it from, that particular employee left halfway through, I believe, last year or towards the end of last year. So the longevity payment was in this year's budget, but it will not be needed.
We don't need it.
So again, he can work within his budget.
Now, you said this is to cover expenses that have already occurred, or will this carry them out through the end of the year?
Hopefully, this will carry him out through the end of the year. Currently, they've only expended $95 more than their budget.
This budget estimate is an estimate. It's needed for the, it's an estimate for what's needed for the rest of the year.
Correct.
Plus, if we're not going to use the longevity account.
Right, we're not going to use those funds this year anyway, so fortunately, he did have that available.
I'll be covered. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of $1,600 for the PW refuse longevity as requested by Mr. Lieberman for the community center overtime.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. For any of those who are watching this exciting meeting, we will be adjourning at this time to to a budget workshop for the remainder of the evening. So can I have a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
I'll make the motion to adjourn the regular meeting.
Ralph, you're hot.
Is there a second?
Second, sure.
Second, all those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. So that concludes our regular meeting. All right, gentlemen, does anybody